Hi guys, am I live? Am I live? Sorry, I had a few technical difficulties with my laptop. Video just wasn't working, so I had to quickly improvise and get onto my phone. I hope I haven't kept you guys waiting too long. I'll give it about 10 seconds just to see if anybody's going to come on. Let me get rid of this flare. Hang on. Okay, we've got one person. Or maybe I'll just have to hold the phone. Maybe. Okay, so I'll start in about a minute. Just settle. See if I can just move myself around to get rid of this flare. Oops. There we go. Better. Okay. So we've got two people on. Let's give it about 30 more seconds and I'll start. Again, I apologize. It's supposed to start at 6, but I had a few issues with my laptop. I don't know what's wrong with the camera. It's just not launching. So I had to quickly improvise to get onto my phone. But we'll start. Okay. So, okay, we've got 3 people on. I'm happy with that. The rest will join as we go along. Yeah, so this is Tori speaking to you. As you may already know, I'm a photographer. And I'm actually coming to you from Ongwediva. I'm not in my usual spot. I'm here because I'll be shooting a wedding tomorrow. And so I just arrived about 2 hours ago. And yeah. Okay, so perhaps I thought I'd start with a little bit of history about how I started and my a little bit of history about how I started and my whole like photography career thing. So basically it happened by accident, I'd say. Or maybe not. I think growing up I had always sort of been very creative. I had like a sewing machine, a little plastic one that my mother bought me. So I was always basically creating stuff. If I wasn't sewing stuff, then I was drawing or stuff like that. So photography, my dad had like a camera that he kept in his room, but it didn't work. It was a film camera and it had like a lens, but the lens wouldn't fit onto the camera. But I was always just like very fascinated about the camera and how it works and so forth. So I think that's where my fascination with cameras and photography began. I think I was about 11 or something, and then my parents would also always carry a camera around to family events and stuff, and so I was always exposed to like photos, but not really in the way that I am now. Anyway, so fast forward later, I got a camera. I think I was about 15, just a normal digicam, and I'd take it around like everywhere that I went, to school, shooting events, my friends, nothing professional, just stuff to put onto Facebook or High Five at the time. And then when I was about 16, we were walking in Hockland Park and we got robbed and I lost the camera, and I didn't take any photos for a while afterwards. But then somebody introduced me to Photoshop, and I was I was fascinated with Photoshop, and I joined like a online community. It was called what was it, DeviantArt, and they basically had these artists from all over the world, people who were illustrators and photographers, digital, whatever. And so I came to know of this girl called Lara Jade. She's a girl from Manchester, but okay, now she's like in the States and stuff. She's a fashion photographer, and that's where I started. So she was my biggest inspiration at the time. And so yeah, so I started doing fashion photography in Namibia and things. And when I started, okay, I think I was about 17, still in high school, just going into university, and I really didn't have any intentions of like making anything big about it. It just sort of grew, I suppose. That's what I mean, like sort of accidentally. People just wanted photos and I would take them, and then so it grew from there. Yeah, at the time when I started, there was Tony Figuera that I remember really, and then later on I discovered Lee or something. So there weren't a lot of people, and also there wasn't like a lot of help available. Like if you contacted people weren't really open to sharing stuff. So I went on to online communities and stuff. So one of the communities that I am still on today, that I still sort of check out every now and then, and you guys might want to write this down, is what is it called? It's called Creative Live. www.creativelive.com. They've got tutorials basically on all things creative, and I'm a big believer in sort of just teaching yourself. Sometimes, like, you know, you want people to like, or like, let's say for instance, I get a lot of requests for internships and things, and sometimes I'm not able to accommodate everyone, but learning from these online resources and things, I would suggest, is also a great you know, tool. Okay, I'm just gonna like mix things up, okay, guys, and just follow. This is how I speak. So going back to about how it was accidental, I think a lot of the lessons also that I learned throughout my journey that come from that whole accidentally getting into photography, I think is also just not like planning, let's say. So for example, because I never planned to be a photographer, everything sort of just happened as it happened. And how do I put this? Let me package it as a lesson. So if you are planning on starting a creative business or whatever you're trying to do actually in life, I would suggest that, you know, don't just go along with it with the wind, and sort of have a plan for what you want to do and where you want to take it. So in retrospect, I think I would have had sort of a, okay, within the first 2 years, I want to improve like lighting or something, or I want to improve my wedding photography and so forth, and not just accidentally fall into things. I think that was my biggest takeaway from when I started. Yeah, just having a plan for growth and for where I want to take stuff. Okay, kind of went off a little bit with the little plan that I have here, but I suppose that's a little preview into what I want to talk about. Okay, so I've spoken about how I started, what I shot in the beginning. Okay, some people do ask me about like, okay, how do I choose what I can start shooting, or how do I choose some, you know, just what do I shoot? Do I do weddings? Do I do corporate and so forth? I would suggest when you're starting off, do everything. Like I did babies, I did maternity, I did weddings, I did a little bit of commercial and corporate. And I think that's probably the best way to figure out what you want to do going forward, because you're not really going to know unless you try and you have experience with it. So there was somebody who asked me the other day to look at his page, and I was telling him that he sort of it's difficult to see what exactly he does because he has so many things on there. He's got like kids, he's got school, he's got models and things. But I suppose, again, it goes back to knowing the stage at which you are and the goal. So if you are in like the beginning stages and you're just trying to figure out, you know, what you like and so forth, that's fine. Okay, I'm speaking about 2 ideas here. First idea, do basically everything, and then from there you'd figure out what you want to do. So whether you're like doing weddings, you can assist somebody on a wedding, or you can start shooting weddings, and then only through doing it will you realize that you don't like it. And then yeah, I'll get on to Augusto's thing later. Okay, so what do I shoot now? I like weddings, so I've stuck with weddings, I've stuck with corporate, and I've stuck with families. Families I do usually like off-peak, so that would be January until around March. My wedding season this year started a little bit early, so I was shooting weddings already from March, and tomorrow I'm shooting my last one for this period before I begin again in July. So I do families, off-peak, weddings whenever the season starts, so that would be, yeah, I suppose like this year was from March until now, and then I'll continue again in July to August, and then September, and so forth and so forth. Corporate also I do a lot of, so that would be like corporate shoots for what? For like annual reports and just like boards and events and so forth. That's also a big one. So those are the 3 sort of that I've stuck with. I'm not really interested in doing babies, not because like they're not cute or anything, but I don't know, it's just not something that attracts me, so I don't do it. Don't do babies, but couples and things like that I like. Okay. And then okay, so another question that I get a lot of is my gear, and maybe more specifically, people ask me about, you know, which camera to buy, and you know, should they rather do Nikon or should they do Canon? I personally am Nikon. I've got 2 cameras. So I've got a Nikon D750 that I got as a backup camera. I've always sort of had 2 cameras when I shoot, because the bulk of my work is weddings, and you don't want your camera to fail during a wedding. There was a time that I was doing a shoot for like a favor, just friends of mine, a few years ago with my first camera, and the camera failed during the shoot, and I was just like, such a huge nightmare. I'd never want that to happen during a wedding, so I always carry 2 cameras with me. So this is my backup, which is quite new. I got it last year. And then my main camera is my Nikon D800, which I love. Yeah, so this is the one that I use. I've had it about, I think, maybe 4 years now. It doesn't die, thank God. So yeah, I use this probably like 80% of the time, and then I use the D750 the rest of, well, the 20%. And also why I think it's good to have 2 cameras if you're shooting weddings is because that you can change lenses. So in the beginning, okay, well, not in the beginning really, but when I did shoot with 1 camera, way back, the issue was just like consistently changing lenses, and you leave things, it's just like not comfortable, it's not convenient. So right now when I shoot weddings, I would have, depending on the scene and so forth, I would have a certain lens on my D800, and then if I need to zoom in or something, so let's say I would have my 50mm on my D800, because I like that like blurry sort of background thing. So might have the 50mm on this camera, and then it might be that I need to do a very close-up picture quickly, or maybe make it more practical. Let's say if I'm doing the exchanging of the rings, so I'll put on my 50 so that I can have both the couple and the priest in the frame, but it might be that I want to like zoom into the rings or something, and then obviously I can't like come way too close. So I can just, if I have my 85mm on the other camera, then I can just sort of drop this camera and then pick up the other one to take a picture. So I just find that convenient. Sometimes, or most of the time, I'd also have my 24-70 on my D800, which is basically like, from super wide until a little bit narrow, not really zoom, but zoom-ish. And then, so I'd have that on the one camera, and then on the other camera, I'd have my like a closer lens, the 85. Okay, speaking of lenses, I really only use 4 lenses. If I'm doing like a family shoot or portrait shoots, I usually alternate between my 50mm and this is 50mm 1.8. I'd love a 1.4, but that's just not possible right now. And then I also use my 85. So these are possibly like my 2 favorite lenses. I love shooting portraits and getting really close and the blurry effect and stuff, so I use these a lot. But obviously during a wedding I can't shoot a whole wedding only with the portrait lenses, so I also use my 24-70, which is like falling apart, but it still works. 24-70 during weddings, but mostly the other 2. And then just for the macro shots, this is a macro lens. It's a Sigma, which is quite good. Yeah, I use it for rings and just the up close shots, usually just for like rings, or if the shoes of the bride or something have nice little details. Yeah, but I don't really use this much, so usually it's just the 3. And then I've got 3 flashes. I never use them all 3 at like one time, unless I'm shooting like in studio and I need like a hair light and a side light and so forth, but usually only maximum usually 2, but I keep the other one as a backup in case something breaks. Yeah, and then batteries. I bought like Any Loops a few months ago, these Any Loop Pro things. So they're rechargeable batteries, and they were, I don't know if you guys can see them, they're recommended by like basically everyone on the internet, but I don't know, I sort of prefer these Energizer ones. They last a lot longer. Okay, surely once they die you can't reuse them, okay, but the Any Loops I think would do probably like 70% or maybe 60% even of these, or maybe I'm not charging them correctly, but that's been my experience. So usually going into a wedding I would keep, just for backup, because I don't like being stuck, I'd buy 3 of these packs, and then I have 4 of these just in case. Okay, so that's my gear. And then I don't know if you can, in the background I've got like my umbrellas. I have about 3, but on shoots I usually use the large one here behind me, and then sometimes that other smaller one, but I sort of really like soft light So I hardly ever use the small lights. Soft light would come from like, you know, the large, like a large light source, if that makes sense. Yeah, I suppose that's it with my gear. Yeah, and then obviously light stands and, you know, things like that. Yeah, I don't, if you have any specific questions, then you can ask and I will answer. Editing tools and workflow. After a shoot, let's say if it's a wedding or something, I go home and I put my bag down, obviously, and, you know, take a shower and sleep. And then the next day I would back the stuff up. So back the pictures up onto two hard drives basically. And then I edit from one hard drive, and then once everything is done, I would delete just like the rows on the one hard drive, but I'd still keep the rows on the, like on one hard drive at least. I never really use them, but I mean, you just never know if like 3 years from now I'd want to edit something differently and then I need the raw, but it's not ever happened. But you know, safety. So okay, fine, I come home, sleep, and you know, do that whole thing, and then the next morning I back the stuff up, and then depending on my work load at the time, I've never really started a wedding as soon as I've gotten back. Like this wedding season, for example, I've done 8 weddings, so and it's been back to back, so I'm still catching up. I'm shooting my last one tomorrow, as I mentioned earlier, so I'll be doing a lot of editing over the next few weeks. So but all the weddings that I've shot so far are backed up twice on hard drives, and then when I edit, I use Photo Mechanic first of all to cull or choose the images that I want to have edited. Photo Mechanic because, okay, so I edit with a Mac, but the preview app, that app to view the photos, it's slow because the file sizes are so huge. So I use Photo Mechanic, which sort of creates, correct me if I'm wrong, JPEG images or JPEG previews of the image, so that it can sort of sift through them quicker, so you're not looking at the raw image. Okay, but that's like super technical. Yeah, so that's what I do. So I go through the pictures, delete the ones that I don't want to have edited, and so forth. And then typically on a wedding, let's say if it's a 1-day wedding, I'm shooting about 2,800 pictures, and then if it's a 2-day wedding, maybe around like, I don't know, 3,800 or maybe 3,800. And then I would give the couple around if it's a 2-day wedding, maybe 1,004, 1,003, and then if it's a 1-day, depending on whether it started at 6 or at 12, somewhere between like 500 and 900 images. Okay, yeah, and then I use Lightroom to edit. I don't use Photoshop just because like the workflow is not, it's not a program that's made for editing like 900 pictures. So Lightroom I use, and then if I do need to touch something up specifically, I use Photoshop, but yeah, Lightroom. Okay, what else? Okay, so, and then what do I do before a wedding? Like today. Sometimes I happen to be doing live videos, but usually I'll just, it depends where it is. Okay, in general, I suppose I sleep at about 9, 10, sometimes 11. I charge all my batteries. These ones I've charged before I left Windhoek, just because I didn't want to, you know, safety first. I didn't want to panic coming here, and I didn't know, you know, what my day or evening would look like, so I just wanted to have all of that out the way. I've already cleared all my memory cards, so tomorrow I'm just basically getting up at 6 a.m. and I'm going to the wedding. Yeah, sometimes I like look through old work of mine just to see if, you know, just to look at my thinking process during that like last wedding and see if there's something that I can improve on the next one, or maybe I'd look at another photographer's work that I like just to get inspired, but generally not much. Sleep and then just, you know, wait for the day to come. Yes, I suppose that's all from my own thinking. I don't know if I've left anything out, and if I have, I'm sure it will come to me, but I did request that people ask me questions. Okay, now they're on my phone. People asked me questions if they had any, and I did get a few, so let me just read them quickly. Okay, so Paula Shikwambi, I hope continue even if I open my pictures to read the messages. Okay, so Paula says, hi Torino. I don't know if it's late for a reply now, but I was wondering if you could shed some light on pricing, as most freelancers are underpaid and overworked. Is there a bracket one could work within? Another thing is about how many pictures are acceptable after editing, and finally the packing and packages. Okay, so those are 3 questions. If I remember correctly, he asked about pricing, packaging, and pictures, the amount of pictures to give. Okay, so I'll start with the amount of pictures to give. I would say, as a rule of thumb, just give the best pictures only. I had a friend who would give like 900 images from an engagement shoot, and I felt like that was just overkill. So sometimes, obviously, not every image that you're gonna take is gonna be like gorgeous and everything. So I would rather say keep it to like, I usually cull down to like maybe 100, or sometimes, okay, something between 90 and 120, depending on how many great photos we got and how long the shoot was. So I think if you give too many images that look the same or that aren't great or something, it sort of waters down your work. So during the process, sometimes, eyes are closed, or you're thinking also, you're trying out different poses and things. So I would only give the pictures that I think were the best ones. Yeah. So let's say typically, an engagement shoot, I'd give about 90 to 120, and that goes the same for family shoots, portraits, and so forth. And what else? Weddings, I mentioned before. If it's a one-day wedding that starts at 12, for example, then it's probably around 600 images, edited images. And then if it started at 6, perhaps around 800 or 900. And then if it's a 2-day wedding, anything between like 1,300 and 1,005 images. Corporate and commercial stuff is a little bit difficult to sort of say because it depends on what they're looking for. But as a rule of thumb, I would just say just give the best images. But don't, just make sure that the best images are more than 10 or something. Otherwise, you're going to upset your client. Okay, and then you asked about packaging. So packaging, I just decided at one point that I wanted to sort of differentiate my stuff from that was one point, the differentiating, but also the CD thing, the stuff of burning photos onto discs was just so tedious for me. And I think my CD-ROM thing had broken on my editing computer, so whenever I'd put a disc in there, it would just vomit it out. So I got frustrated, and I was looking for new ways to package and just to give photos over. So I had tried Pixieset, which is a online gallery sort of thing, but because of our internet speeds and things, that didn't really work out. And also I feel like people like to get a physical thing, so that's where I started looking into USBs and stuff. And then I wasn't really just happy giving a stick like this, so I had to sort of think of stuff what can I put it into, and how can it suit my branding, how can I get my branding through there, and and so forth and so forth. So that's how the packaging of mine came through. I've got a paper bag, and I've got the little box and then the USB. I just wanted something that looked pretty. And then what else did you ask? Oh, you asked about pricing. Pricing, I would say, is a very sort of personal thing, and not personal that I don't want to share my prices, but I mean, I think the best way to determine how much you should charge for your work is, first of all, determine your expenses. How much does it cost you to create that product? And then determine your the amount of profit that you want to make. And then from there, you need to know how people see you. So your target audience or the customers and stuff. So say for instance, maybe let's say I would be starting off today. Let me take it back to when I started. So I had just started. Nobody knows me. Nobody knows my work. I have no reputation whatsoever. And I come out and I'm like, okay, I'm going to charge 50,000 for a family shoot. It might be a little bit difficult because, first of all, the perceived value, people will probably be like, okay, who the hell are you? Why are you charging us 50,000? Is it worth it? So I would say balancing those three. So the way that I figured my pricing out was, okay, how much does it cost me to create the thing? So if it's a wedding, the transport or the packaging, cameras, insurance, all of that stuff. How much does it cost me to just create, to give you that wedding thing? How much do I want to make out of that? So let's say if it was X amount, okay, so it cost me X amount to create that, and then I want to make X amount, so then yeah, you balance it that way. And then if I was like, okay, fine, so I decided that I want to make a profit of 80,000, for example, and then I realized that, okay, look back into my environment, it's Namibia, maybe nobody's like gonna pay that much because everyone else like that I'm competing against probably charges this much. So then you find a balance in between that. But I don't think it's a one size or one shoe fits all thing. You sort of just need to sit down and figure it out for yourself, and also experiment with things. Could be that you start and you charge, let's say, 1,500, and then you see if you're getting like lots of people for it. You either hire more people so that you guys can get more clients, or you raise the price a little bit to decrease the amount of people. Depends on, yeah, so it just depends on you. Okay, I hope I've answered your question. Let me move on to the next one. Let's see. Okay, wait, I just realized that perhaps when I read the questions, I get paused, the video gets paused, so let me just get it from my email rather. But okay, the next question anyways was from Shama, and she asked how I get crystal sharp images with a shallow depth of field, and how to pitch to clients. So with the shallow depth of field and crystal sharp, I'd say it's maybe a little bit of practice. It's sort of not technique really, but I wouldn't shoot, let's say, depends if I'm standing really, I don't know, so let's say if you're focusing on somebody wearing a black and white shirt, your focus point thing should be sort of on the contrasted spot. So you wouldn't put it just on the shirt. I would put it over here, for example, and then I feel like the camera focuses better there. But sometimes also, like, let's say you wouldn't shoot like a whole group at like 1.8 because it's so, and sorry for everybody else who's just not like a photographer, it might be too technical for you, but yeah, you can't shoot at 1.8 a line of people because you're gonna have some people that are, you know, so maybe to be safe I would do 3.2, 2.8 maybe, but perhaps what you're also seeing sometimes when the background is blurry and it looks like it's a shallow depth of field, it could just be that I'm using the 85 and I'm standing a little bit like far, so it blurs it out by itself because it's an 85. But usually I shoot, if I'm doing portraits like very up close, I'm doing probably doing 1.8 to 2.8, but yeah, generally I hardly shoot above 3.2. Yeah, I'm comfortable there. What else? The other question was how you pitch to clients, or wait, let me just get the question. Hang on. Okay. Okay, Shama said, how do you pitch yourself for work? Okay, how do you pitch yourself for work? I would say, okay, I don't do too much pitching because I shoot mostly like weddings, and most of the other time people are maybe coming to me. But I suppose we all should pitch more because we can't wait for work to come to us. Let me think, how would you pitch? I would think about the company that you're pitching to and what is it that you have to offer them. So don't just go just J, you know, have a plan. So if I was maybe pitching Apple, I would identify first the problem with their current branding or something. So I'd say, okay, fine, you guys only use kangaroos in your campaigns. I would say that you need to use pineapples. And then come up with like a killer concept and go to them and show them mock visuals and say, okay, so this is what you guys have been doing, but this is what I think would also work. And you know, convince them of the idea. If it's a great idea, you wouldn't need too much convincing anyways. It should just gel. They should just buy it because it's a great idea. So I think that's one of the things. If it's more like the nitty-gritties and things, it would be getting an appointment. I suppose you could call companies. I don't know. Lots of companies work with agencies, for example. So maybe you would want to align yourself with agencies if that's the kind of work that you're wanting to do. But I think coming up with an idea and pitching it to whoever you want to buy the idea should be that's how I would go about pitching stuff. Yeah, but you should be focused on coming up with like a good idea and improving something, but you shouldn't be going in there and because people don't want their time wasted, so come up with something good and then you pitch it, and then I think you'd be good to go. And then Gutati says, this is the last question, by the way, that I've gotten, is please do mention tips on posture for photography. So I think she probably meant posing, I hope, because that's what I'm going to respond about. Posing, I actually also have a really, really hard time with posing. In the beginning, when I started, I would print out like 4 pages of like poses from the internet, and I would go to the shoot and I'd be like, okay, let's do this one. But the problem with that is that it blocks your own creativity. So while doing the shoot, you sort of rely on these papers that are wherever, and then you can't think for yourself about, how you want to pose the people. So I would say posing, how I do it now is I've basically memorized maybe 5 signature poses of myself or for myself. So I would say, ask the couple to get into, let's say, the first pose, and then I would just work the scene. So I would put on my 50 mil, for example, and then I would shoot it landscape, and then, move to this side a little bit, and then shoot it, and it would just change. The pose would change. Let's say if I asked them to hold hands and look at each other, face each other. So pictures that you could get out of that would be the hands holding. You could come on from the other side and do like her eyes over his shoulders. You can, and it's easy to sort of like work the pose while you're doing that. Then you can maybe ask them, okay, leave your hands, put your hand over his shoulder. So I think it's a little bit of practice. I think also maybe why I was so bad at posing in the beginning was because I would I'm like a little bit shy usually. Okay, I am just shy. So I would like hide behind my camera and be very quiet and sort of just wait for things to happen. But you just need to step out and do it. I would say, memorize 5 poses or so, and that you can learn. And it also really depends on the couple. So you need to sort of multitask and also read the couple. So you can't be, let's say for instance, the couple is really not about like cheesy poses, or maybe they're not like very, not that they're not close, but maybe they're not intimate. Maybe they're trying to, or how do I word this? Not that they're not intimate, but let's say they're trying to do more by themselves. Like I had a couple that once said, okay, stop telling us to kiss, for example. So they didn't want to do that. So I had to quickly switch. Okay, what kind of poses, what fun things can we do? Are they going to walk, hold hands, walk, run towards me? Or we're going to do like, another thing that can actually help is if you theme your shoot. So let's say if you're doing a mountain climb sort of shoot, then you could basically, that would help you with the poses of, okay, fine, so it's a picnic. So what would people be doing on a picnic? They're sitting down, so that's a pose. They are possibly like clinking glasses, that's a pose. So building a story around whatever you are, shooting, that can help. But I would say reading the couple and just having like 4 or 5 go-to poses and then taking it from there is good advice, if I do say so myself. Okay, so I suppose that's it with the questions that I had prior to, starting this live thing. Let's see, I don't know how to see if there are any questions or comments and things. No, it doesn't look like there are any comments, I hope. So yeah, I don't know. I'll probably just wrap up on what I've said so far. To anyone joining now, is that I am Victoria, as you may already know. I'm a photographer, and I shoot with Nikon, however it's pronounced. I've got a D750 and a D800, and then I've also got 4 lenses, an 85 and a 50, and these are my go-to lenses. I use these all the time. If I had to choose lenses, then I would choose these 2. And then I also use a 24-70. Yeah, it's not like my preferred lens. If I could have like this lens with the 50mm quality, then I would definitely go for it, but and then I use this 105 macro lens for details and things like that, but really only for the details, nothing else. Yeah, And I've got three flashes, just as backups. And yeah, if I need to ever, I don't have like studio lights and stuff. I'm a strobist, so I shoot. I've got 3 just in case I ever need like a multi-light setup. And what I've got, these any loop batteries that I use, but I don't prefer those over like these what do you call these energizers. I prefer energizer over any loops. And yeah, I guess that's all. I just got a text to tell me that supposedly people asked questions, and now I need to figure out how to see these questions. Let's see if I can just see it on Facebook, because I can't seem to find them on the phone. Sorry. Sugar King, Namibia. Okay, questions. There's 2 comments. Okay, where are the questions? I don't know if I'm. Let's see. Just give me a second. Oh, I really have no idea where to find these questions, guys. I'm sorry. Hold on. Let's see. Okay, apparently, how do you promote and market your business? I would say the best way to promote and market your business is good referrals, and you get good referrals when you give good service. So that should always be your number one. I think for me, that has probably been, word of mouth has been the biggest sell for me. Oh, no, it looks so dark. There you go. It's better. Yeah, word of mouth has been the biggest sell for me. So if you can, let's say for instance, weddings, I think when I started anyways, I would shoot a wedding, and then the next year I'd be shooting like 5 of those bridesmaids weddings. Okay, maybe not 5, let's say 3, but you get the point. So word of mouth should be optimal just goal, to just treat every customer very well. If they're very happy, then they will refer you gladly. Second of all, if you're just starting out and you feel that there's a lot of competition, market is saturated, then you can look into like doing Facebook ads, Instagram ads, and then you can also do what can you do? You can also, there's Namibian weddings. I don't know. Okay, but this is obviously only if you're doing couples, and if you're doing couples and if you're doing weddings. There's Namibian weddings. They have like packages that they sell for advertising. So if you want them to advertise your work and stuff, then you pay them 1,000, I believe. You can contact them and find out how much they charge. But that is also quite helpful. They've got like about 14,000 followers, so that's a lot, and most of them are Namibian. So you can look into that. First of all, first again, word of mouth will always be your biggest friend. And then second of all, you can do like Facebook ads and all of that, and then you can also do like the Namibian weddings thing. Though again, I will put double, triple, quadruple emphasis on word of mouth, because even if like somebody's seeing your ad on Facebook, it probably won't have as much value as if it's coming from somebody's mouth, somebody that they trust. So word of mouth should be like your number one. Okay, let's see. Where did I get my AA battery cases? Those came with the batteries. I got them from France. I don't know, some shop called FNAC or something. So they sold it with the battery case, but you can, I don't know, I'm sure like if you checked on eBay or something, you would find stuff. I don't know how this isn't like the original Any Loop packaging, but I'm sure that if you just ordered them, that they would come with the case, maybe, I don't know. But other than that, if I don't have the case, then I have a little bag that I put them into. Improvise. Okay, let's see what else. Thank you, Sammy. And then would I offer starter courses? I've thought about it. Sort of beginner courses. What would you want to learn? Maybe you can get in touch with me and find and let me know what you are looking to learn, and then I can see if I can sort of offer that. Although I would always say that the best way to learn would be to assist someone, and sometimes I suppose it's difficult to get someone to take you on and sort of things. I know I've been contacted by a lot of people, but it's not that I don't have the time or that I don't want to. It's just that I don't have like the structure in place for that at the moment. But I'm working on it. Let's say so. Just send me an email and then we'll see how we can, we'll see how we can get something going. I don't know if there are any more questions. Yeah, if there are any more questions, let me know. Otherwise, maybe that's it. Thank you guys for joining. I was hella paranoid that, I'd be speaking to myself, but it's great that you guys came. I appreciate it. And I hope that you learned something. If there is something else that you guys want to know, you know where to find me on my Instagram or my Facebook or my email. And you guys should like the Sugar King page. They're going to have like other people come in and share, what they do. So it's great to always learn something new that you might not have been exposed to. And also just like big ups to Sugar King for inviting me to speak. Yeah, do I work alone or have assistance? I tend to just like work alone most of the time, because sometimes it's difficult to like coordinate. I mean, but if like last week I shot a wedding and well, he wasn't really assisting, but he joined Peter Kanana from Milky Way Photography, sorry. In the beginning I also had assistance a lot. Yeah, so I don't know, sometimes I have assistance, sometimes not. I've had Shama join me sometimes. I would ideally like to be joined by an assistant on every shoot. That would be great, but I'm just like, trying to create the systems to allow that. Yeah, as soon as I am taking on people, I have a list already, but feel free to email me and get in contact should you want me to, contact you in future for something like that, if you're interested in something like that. Where can you recommend to buy their gear? I would say I bought where did I buy my gear? I got it from different places, I guess. I've bought, okay, first most accessible place would be ORMS, www.ormsdirect.co.za, I think. If that is not the correct link, then I would suggest just Google it. ORMS Camera Shop. It's in Cape Town and Joburg, and they've got a camera shop and you can buy your gear there. Or like you can travel. If you travel, then you can buy your gear there as well. I've gotten some things from the States, gotten some things from France, gotten some things from SA. But yeah, if you're looking for something, whatever you're looking for, just ORMS, I'd say maybe would be my first go-to because it's close. Hi Tori, what are the do's and don'ts of photography? That is a very difficult question. I don't know. What are the do's and don'ts of photography? In what sense? There's so many. Let me think. Okay, I'm just going to say what comes to mind. First, the don'ts are: do not disappoint your clients. Do well, and do well with your clients. Make sure that everyone's happy. Do not back up your work. Always back up, because you don't just back up the stuff. You don't want to have to explain to anyone about what happened to the pictures. Of course, you can hire a makeup artist on your expense again to reshoot, but back up. Do not look too much at other people's work, because that blocks your own creativity. Don't compare your work to somebody else's work. It's your journey, so just walk on your own. Walk on your own. You know what I mean? What else are the do's and don'ts of photography? If you are learning, it's fine to copy somebody else's work, I'd say, but credit and put in time. Let me make sure that my battery is not dying. Sorry, we're good. Yeah, don't also, sort of, just as much as it's important to model your work on somebody else's work, also just make sure that you're spending enough time learning your own style, because it feels better when you're creating your own work and you're not always develop your style. And what else, man? I don't know. I suppose that's it from the top of my head. How much did I invest in my gear in total? I counted it up a few weeks ago for insurance, and it's about everything, bags, everything, I think is about 250,000. But I didn't buy this once off. I bought it obviously in chunks. The camera that I first got, I started with one camera and one lens, from my dad and shot something, saved, and then got like another lens, saved, got another camera, saved. So over like 5 years, I suppose about 250,000 just for what I currently have. But obviously I've upgraded gear, I've sold some things and stuff. So yeah, I suppose it's a huge investment if you're buying it once off, but it also pays itself off quite quickly if you're smart and if you work hard. Okay. And then thank you for saying that we did well with the wedding. And yeah, guys, I suppose maybe we're done. Hey, let me leave you guys. If you have any other questions, feel free to comment maybe below, and then I can come back and answer anything that might come. Or like I said, you know where to find me if you have any additional questions. And thank you so much for joining, man. Yeah, signing out. How do I turn this off? Okay, here we go. Finish.